I want you to think of this shed here as the human body, the digestive system. The digestive system with a really nasty case of worms. And there's a couple of blokes in here I want you to meet who have turned this shed into a really smart business plan. Come on.
Dave and Chris Ellery run Sunburst, a company which uses leading technology and hungry worms to solve a major environmental problem, the disposal of organic waste. Chris and Dave's business is unique because it's virtually the only one in Australia that's devised this process to recycle organic waste this way.
So where does it come from, Dave?
Well, it comes from various sources, Jim. It comes from householders, people like you and I that produce, various amounts of material. The cardboard, etc., comes from industry.
Organic waste usually gets buried, but here it ends up as rich natural soil conditioner or worm manure.
From this point, when the truck's deposited, it goes onto this belt over here, and slowly goes up to the top to our hydroprocessor.
Oh, yes! Wow. What do we got down in there? Blades.
Yeah, there is. There's mashing blades and special steel veins which tumble and grind and tumble and slice.
You wouldn't want to fall in there.
No way. No. You can have cardboard attached to plastic, which in normal circumstances can't be recycled, but with this particular process, one is separated from the other, and then it's all mixed into fine particles.
It's important at this stage of the process to mix the different waste correctly to get an even balance of nitrogen and carbon content.
Then from there, it's extracted through a discharge pump at the bottom of this unit.
And it ends up here, does it?
That's right, yes.
That reminds me of something, Dave, but I'm not going to touch that.
No, well, I will. Just hang on a moment. As you can see, all organic material mixed.
What's going on in that machine there?
It's basically a screw press. It has a very fine screen in it which traps the particles, and a screw literally sweeps over the top of it, pushes it all together, packs it all tightly, squeezes the water out, and we're left with a dry part and a liquid which comes out the bottom.
The water is recirculated and the dried waste is put on the shed floor to compost for about 2 weeks. Before the waste is given to the worms, samples of it are sent to Adelaide to test for purity. This is where Chris takes over the recycling process, using his experience in horticulture and vermiculture.
All the material's been extracted out, so you'll find that it's basically organic matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got little bits of
plastic, that's
little
right.
bits of plastic,
yep.
stuff
and,
like that.
And what will happen with that is the worms will basically eat around that, and then it will go through a sieving device, and that material will be taken out.
When the waste has been tested and composted, it's then put into a hopper and poured into the worm beds.
Simply speaking, we layer it on top, and what happens is the worms then come from underneath into the new food that we put in, and munch it, eat it, turn it into worm manure or vermicastings, and then we put a new layer on top. And we just keep adding to the top, and the worms move up into the new food on a consistent basis.
The worms are an essential natural tool in the process. They've turned household and industry waste back into a natural product.
Within its stomach, it has billions of microbes, which are then added to the organic matter. What happens is those microbes then go into action and start to break the material down. And when it's then placed onto the plants, it's basically living.
And as the vermicastings build up, they drop through these grates onto the ground, completing the process.
Because it's so good in nutrients and microbes, the plant's root system adapts much faster, and also becomes a much stronger plant. And we've also been working with a couple of the chaps on the CSIRO in regards to trials, and some of the trials that they've come up with is between 30 to 50% increase in yields and quality.
So the end product is ready-made for your soil, in solid or liquid form.
That is sensational. That's the stuff that they've backed out. God bless them. They're doing a great job.
Yes, very high in organic matter.
I can feel myself growing just by holding it. Oh, certainly. I'll rub a bit there onto the hair on my hands. We'll come back next week and we'll see whether I've turned into an ape.
That's it.
I'm not far off it at the moment, actually. Look at that.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Kirsten Aiken. Welcome again to Saturday Landline. Last week we featured camels and dogs, and today we'll show you fish and worms. Such is the diversity of interests for our primary producers. Our worm story signals a real watershed for these amazing creatures. Their potential has always been known, but for perhaps the first time we'll show how commercially viable they can be in eating tons and tons of rubbish. Councils everywhere, take note. That's to come. Monday project, and let you know how it's progressing. Now to worms, and we all know how wonderful worms are. They can eat virtually anything organic, and vermicast or worm droppings is a superb natural fertiliser and soil conditioner. But there's a quantum leap from believing in worms and spending millions of dollars on making them commercially viable. Today we'll visit Mount Gambier in South Australia, where that leap has been made, and the humble worm is king of the rubbish tip.
Australians have the dubious distinction of being the second highest producers of waste in the world. Only the United States churns out more rubbish per capita than we do. Every year, the amount we put to landfill could cover the state of Victoria to a depth of 10 centimetres. Disgusting, huh? And that's not counting the pig poo that comes out of our scores of piggeries, the cow pads that need disposing of from dairies, and the millions of litres of sewage we humans produce. Even sale yards have a major problem with what they do with cow and sheep doo-doo. This is a story about one of those worm companies, Sunburst Nominees. Set up last year, it takes about 30% of the Millicent sale yard manure, and much more besides. The company also has a skip set up at the Mount Gambier tip. Anything organic that's potential worm food.
See you later, bye.
Music to the ears of the Mount Gambier Council, which, like most councils, is always looking for cheaper, more effective ways of reducing landfill.
Our primary function in life really is to service our ratepayers in the city, and also our prime agenda at the moment is to reduce the amount of volume of refuse going to landfill. And anyone that comes along with a good proposition will help us achieve that. We're interested in talking to them. Sunburst are certainly doing that at the moment, and potentially it appears as though we can do a lot more work together.
So far, Sunburst is not sounding that different from several other worm-based projects dotted around the country. What sets it apart are two main things: its degree of automation and sophistication in producing worm castings, more about that later, and the cooperative agreements it's beginning to establish with local councils to take over rubbish collecting roles. Sunburst is about to introduce a user pay system for Mount Gambier residents who want to get rid of their green household waste. The local council is about to supply each household with a small green wheelie bin. Residents can, however, keep hold of their larger green bins, and if they fill them with their food scraps and garden waste, then for an annual fee of $82, Sunburst will pick up these bins on a fortnightly basis. Eventually, the company would like to extend this service to other regional centres around Australia.
That soft organic matter that we generate here in the city, particularly through our household weekly collection of refuse, appears to be about equal to what they need to reach the maximum efficiency of their plant. So potentially there's a good correlation.
Now, when we first turned up at the Mount Gambier waste transfer station, we thought it's not every day you see the company boss getting his hands dirty. But once we got to Sunburst's headquarters in a rusty shed behind an old timber mill just outside the township of Millicent, we realised Stuart McConnell had the best job in the house. Here, a team of sorters has the unenviable task of sifting through other people's garbage. This is rubbish collected, again on a user pays basis, outside the traditional council areas, from farming properties and the like. Unlike almost all other worm-working enterprises, this operation is happy to take all types of rubbish, not just green waste. In fact, eventually Sunburst would like to take over the garbage collecting role of councils. The recyclables are recycled, and the green matter, which usually makes up about 60 to 70% of the waste stream, is mixed with animal manure in the biggest, smelliest washing machine you can imagine. The end result is a dehydrated worm food, which is left outside for a few days. Then it's dinner time. The worms are fed once a day. While each worm can eat its body weight of food, they do like to eat from the top down. So that's where the thin layer of food is spread via a semi-automatic gantry.
The principles that set, I suppose, Sunburst processes apart is its degree of automation, which then gives us a very, very tight quality control ability. For example, the automated feeding that you've seen through the gantry feeders that drop at certain predetermined depths. I mean, our operators can determine how much material is fed, what type of material is fed, and can regulate that. When the material is harvested, that can be controlled. There are other raised bed systems, as we've seen. These are raised off the ground, but certainly none to this depth of quality control.
When these 4 units were commissioned last year, each was filled with 2 tonnes of composting worms.
They work 24 hours a day, they don't call in sick, and they eat and they breed. And they eat and they breed. You couldn't get a better workforce, actually.
On a regular basis, the sifters are opened and worm castings dropped to the ground below, where they are harvested and packed for sale. This is what the whole process is about. A rich, microbe-laden product which is increasingly being hailed as the natural fertiliser of the future.
I've been involved in this for nearly 15 years now. We've done many, many plant growth trials, and pretty much in general, vermicompost used as a horticultural medium will outperform most of the commercial media that are sold.
You're using a biological organism.
Professor Clive Edwards from the Ohio State University is considered a world authority on solving waste problems using worms. Landline caught up with him 3.5 years ago when he was in Australia conducting seminars on the emerging benefits of worm castings. These days, Professor Edwards is also a long-distance consultant to Sunburst. What is it then that the worm does to that waste?
Well, it passes all the waste through its body, basically, and it grinds it up as it does it and turns it into nice fine particles instead of large chunks. And while it's there, its gut is full of bacteria, microbes, fungi. That's where it gets its nutrition. As it grinds the waste up, so it liberates the nutrients it contains. And what comes out of the back end of the worm is very high in available nutrients.
Traditionally, this product has been extremely expensive because it's been a cottage industry and it hasn't been able to be produced in volumes and the quality that's required. So it's large-scale, high-volume manufacturing type processes which will ultimately keep the cost down.
Presently, the Sunburst plant processes 20 to 30 tonnes of organic matter a day. It needs twice that amount to keep the worms working flat out. So that's why the company is more than happy to take on as much garbage as possible. David Ellery also encourages tours of the plant. Today it's a group of local councillors.
You know, government bodies are sort of sitting there saying, yeah, 50% reduction to landfill by the year.
Residents in nearby Wattle Range Council can either have their rubbish taken away by council contractors and dumped to landfill, or, for a fee, Sunburst will collect it. Mayor Don Ferguson believes it is a good move. Landfill sites are expensive to run, and suitable land is getting more difficult to come by.
It's been a revolution, and a lot of people can't get over how good it is. And you really got to see it, and you've seen it today. It's really something to have a good look at. And I think all councils, not only in South Australia, but right throughout Australia, should be looking at this as a way of saving landfill and getting rid of their rubbish and turning it into a profitable enterprise.
And that's where Sunburst aims to take their idea to all regional councils, not just in South Australia, but nationally. It considers dumping refuse is quite simply a waste.
Collier County, Florida is one of the fastest growing regions in the country, and for good reason. Bordered on one side by the beautiful Gulf of Mexico and rich agricultural land in the interior, more than 250,000 people call it home. However, when a population increases by more than 65% in less than 10 years, the strain on the local infrastructure can be significant. Annually, over 380,000 tons of solid waste is brought to the county's 2 landfills. This tonnage continues to increase as the population swells. Designed for longer operating lifetimes, these landfills are quickly becoming filled to capacity. To deal with this challenge, Collier County can build more landfill capacity or look for innovative solutions. For the past 18 years, Joyce Engineering Incorporated has been an industry leader in providing communities with innovative solutions for managing their solid waste. Joyce is coming to Collier County with a cost-effective organic waste management solution that will preserve valuable landfill space and, more importantly, recycle a variety of materials back to the earth in an environmentally friendly fashion. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates over 50% of all municipal waste is organic. Joyce Engineering's affiliate company, Organic Soil of Collier County, is proposing an earthworm composting facility, also known as vermicomposting, be commissioned to handle a portion of these materials for the county. This facility will process organic materials into a consumer-friendly, organic, humus-like product. Vermicomposting can process a variety of organic wastes, including separated municipal waste, animal manures, pre- and post-consumer food waste, biosolids, yard waste, and select industrial wastes. According to Tom Herlihy, Senior Technical Consultant with Joyce Engineering, the system involves feeding these materials to small red worms, officially known as Icena fetida.
One of the main reasons we like vermicomposting systems is that they're biologically based. It's pretty simple. You get the organic material in, you prepare it the right way, you feed it to the worms process it, they do the aerating, our job is to keep them fat, dumb, and happy. We want them to eat and make new worms. Material comes in, we prepare it, it's fed, material comes out, it's a wonderful product. It's very straightforward, simple, not a lot of moving parts, and engineers like things that are simple.
The design proposed for Collier County will accommodate up to 75,000 tons per year of the county's biosolids, yard waste, and commercial source separated organic waste. As trucks enter the facility, they are logged into our tracking system. Loads of regulated waste materials, such as biosolids and food waste, that have the potential to create litter or odors or attract vectors, are brought immediately for drop-off into the main processing building. Brush, clippings, and woody debris, called yard waste, are sent directly to the processing pad, where they are ground by heavy equipment into a mulch-like material and placed in conventional composting windrows. We take great pride in the appearance of our facility. The facility grounds are professionally landscaped and maintained and decorated with flower and vegetable plots to showcase the benefits of using vermicompost products. Significant resources are always devoted to the control of nuisance parameters such as dust, odor, noise, and litter control. At the heart of our vermicomposting facility are the earthworm digesters. The facility shown here has 16 units. The long walls seen here are aerated conditioning bays where the waste materials undergo final pre-processing prior to being fed to worms. The end product is a beautiful, rich, smooth-textured organic humus, which is a natural soil enhancer and ready to sell to farmers, nurseries, and landscapers. For this project, Organic Soils of Collier County has teamed up with Chris and David Ellery, directors of Sunburst Technologies in Millicent, South Australia. The Ellery brothers operate a commercial vermicomposting facility. After 5 years of research and development, they feel they've gained invaluable knowledge and have a robust and dependable operation.
Well, I suppose, again, if we go back to the reasons why Sunburst was created to begin with, If you look at most waste streams within westernised modernised countries, at least 70% of that is organic out of the total waste stream. So I suppose based on that, with the Sunburst process, if you take it in totality, it has the ability to accept 15 to 16 different types of waste streams. Some of those can be commingled and mixed with inorganic wastes.
The facility services the city of Millicent and other major waste generators in several mutually beneficial ways, and the mayor of Millicent is very happy.
Well, most of our green garbage goes out there. It's expensive for us to take it out there, they charge us, but it's still much better for us to pay that extra than it is to have it rotting. And the other thing, of course, the Kimberley Clark, which is next door, where they have 600 people, they have huge waste with their dining facilities and all that which was put in the rubbish dump is now put into the vermiculture plant, and it's much more tidy and healthier to get rid of that instead of having it lying around in landfill, and so it's a much better idea.
Vermicomposting is an effective way to turn organic waste materials into a microbial and fungal-rich amendment for soils depleted of their native microbes, enriching it and fertilizing the soil in a natural way.
It's a really good product, and because it's sort of getting rid of some waste product and returning it to the earth, it is really good.
This is Sunburst's Millicent, Australia facility, which processes 45,000 tons per year of municipal, industrial and agricultural wastes.
This is basically a couple of different products that we produce, and this is the storage area where we keep them ready for sale. When material comes in, it's basically sorted and processed, and this is domestic rubbish that you can see here, and this is 1 day's worth of material that will be sorted and processed and turned into organic material ready for the worms, or ready for us to make up into a different type of product. Okay, from here the material is placed onto the belt, processed, goes up and is mixed into the hydropulper. From here we'll go upstairs and we'll show you what happens upstairs. Okay, here is our hydroprocessing area. Material drops off the belt into the machine, is all mixed up, cut up into small pieces, sucked out of the machine, and then goes on to the next process, which is separating the water from the solids. From the pulper, material gets pumped up and goes into this machine. The material comes out as a solid, and the water is taken out and recycled and reused. And that's what it looks like when it comes out of the machine. So what you saw being dropped off, half an hour later, that's what it comes out. From here, material goes and is placed in an area ready for application to the worms. This is the next step. After dewatering of the material, it comes over and is allowed to sit for 7 days to 14 days, depending on the type of waste. And from here, it's conditioned. The microbes are allowed to build up, so they get to an acceptable level, and from there it's taken and placed onto the worms. So this is the final stage of the process. We come along and put material on the worm beds, and the worms then eat it and turn it into vermicast, or worm manure. It's raining black gold, as we say.
So what am I seeing here now?
What you're seeing now is after the worms have worked the material, what happens is we add more material to the top, the worms move up, and behind them they leave their manure, or vermicast as it's called. And what you're seeing now is the way that we take the vermicast out of the bottom of the bed, and without it's minimal disturbance to the worms. So we're taking it from the bottom, and the worms are moving to the top with the material on top. As you can see now, it's just raining down, and that'll go the full length of the bed and back again, and that's our material ready to be taken away and processed and bagged. So this is the end product. This material is the rubbish that you saw approximately 45 to 55 days ago. That's basically how long it takes us to take material from the top and then take it out of the bottom.
It's really no trick. There's nothing fancy in this. It's just backing up.
It's common sense, really.
Exactly what nature does and then proving it. I suppose the line or the standard line that we take here is take the product and try it. And we're confident every single time when that happens, that when a person takes the product and tries it, or a farmer takes it, or a grower takes it, they will be back.
Yep.
And they always are. So the proof of the pudding is using the product.
We are one of the largest commercial organic certified apple growers in the country. I think another very exciting part of the whole vermiculture compost industry is the recycling of waste. It is getting basic landfill and turning it into a revolutionary product. But in the future, when word is out there and the results are actually coming in and people are starting to question and ask the serious questions about how alive is my soil, it cannot do anything but succeed. The recycling aspect alone is fantastic, and to produce a byproduct which can basically, well, continue to feed the world. They're talking about we need genetic engineering to feed the world. We don't need genetic engineering to feed the world. All we need is to get our soils back to the state that they were in 500, well, even 100 years ago, even 50 years ago.
The beautiful environment that makes Florida so desirable to the hundreds of thousands who live and vacation there is also the reason that Collier County needs to consider alternatives in managing its organic waste stream. L.E. Joyce, president of Joyce Engineering, with 25 years of solid waste management experience, believes in the future of vermicomposting.
Vermicomposting is a cost-effective waste management technology. This technology allows earthworms to do what they do naturally, eat decomposing organic waste materials, and convert this into a rich soil amendment. This enhanced soil product can then be used by farmers, nurserymen, and developers to improve soil quality, crop yields, and sustain our Earth's natural biological cycles.